Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dancing Italian Urban Farm. My name is Leslie, and today we're talking about what ballet has taught me about life. Now, most often when people think about ballet, they often think about the things that they can see. Ballet is a very visual art form. So you remember what you see when it comes to ballet or any form of dance. We think about the beautiful movements, the costumes glinting in the lights, the performances that we've seen or been a part of, the strength and discipline required to stand on that stage. But after spending most of my life in ballet, nearly 45 years as both a dancer and now a teacher, I think the greatest lessons that ballet has given me are the ones that have absolutely nothing to do with dance. Ballet has taught me how to keep going when things get difficult. It has taught me patience. It has taught me how to communicate, how to work with others, how to express myself, and how to move through the world with grace and empathy. And today, I want to share some of these life lessons with you. One of the most important things I think ballet has taught me is resilience. Because ballet asks you to do things and to try things that are uncomfortable. I mean, if you think about it, ballet is done in a turned out position. That is not normal for most people. And at the beginning, it's uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it, the better at it you get. It becomes a little easier. You often practice a step over and over and over again. And time after time, it doesn't always work. And maybe you fall out of a turn, or you struggle with something that seems effortless for someone else. And then you come back the next day and you try again. As dancers, we learn very early that progress doesn't happen because you get everything right the first time, because you rarely get anything right the first time. Progress happens because we are willing to continue. We're willing to show up day after day and to keep trying until we get it. Now, as a teacher, I see this very clearly in my students because I watch them struggle with something for months. And then one day, everything clicks. And that look on their face when it does is absolutely priceless. And that moment, that's not about talent. That's about resilience and a willingness to show up day after day, week after week, and put in the work. It's about perseverance. Ballet has also taught me that discipline is actually an act of love. There seems to be this misconception that discipline is about being strict with yourself. But I've learned that true discipline is about caring enough about something to show up for it. The daily exercises, the fundamentals, the small corrections, the things that don't feel exciting but create the foundation for growth. A dancer doesn't become strong because of one perfect class. They become strong because of thousands of small choices made over time. And I think life works the same way. You become stronger because of thousands of small choices you make over time. Because you show up day after day. And then you look back and you're like, wow, look at what I've overcome. Look at what I've accomplished. And that is pretty amazing. Ballet has taught me that communication does not always require words. A dancer tells a story through their movements, through the small gestures, the subtle head, the turn of an eye, the tilt of a shoulder, the way they enter the room. It's the quality of movement that counts. And even the pauses hold significance. Learning to express emotion through dance taught me to pay closer attention, not only to myself, but to others. It has taught me that everyone has a story they're carrying, even if they never say it out loud. Oftentimes, if we teach teenagers, and if you teach teenagers, you know, they often express themselves in ways that are not the most respectful. And sometimes that comes from a place of hurt, or it comes from a place of insecurity, or it comes from a place of fear. And when we understand that, and we understand how to look for the clues that lead to that, oftentimes we can take a breath and listen past the words that they are saying. I had a student the other night, I was teaching a point class, and she's having issues with her shoes. She's very frustrated. And she said, "Man, I hate point." My initial response right off the bat was, "Well, if you hate it so much, why are you taking it? It's not a required course. Why are you here?" But I took a breath and I took a minute to really understand what she was saying, because it wasn't that she hated point. It was that she was frustrated because her shoes were not supporting her in the way she needed them to. And they didn't look as good on her feet as she thinks that they should. And in all honesty, her shoes are dead and she needs new ones. And when you take a moment to realize what is truly going on, to look for the clues beyond the words, that's when you can truly start to teach someone. One of the things that ballet has taught me that I don't think a lot of people understand is that ballet is actually built on community. From the outside, it can look like an individual pursuit. And it can look very lonely. But it's not. Because no dancer grows alone. We are shaped by the teachers who guide us and coach us, by the friends who encourage us and challenge us, by the partners who support us, by the people who believe in us before we believe in ourselves. And teaching has reminded me that growth is rarely something we do by ourselves. We need that sense of community to help us grow, because we only grow when we are challenged by others to do better And when we are challenged by others to do better, and therefore we do better, we grow. And when one person grows, we should all grow. Now, I do understand how sometimes that competition can seem toxic. But if the teacher is guiding the class correctly and is guiding the class in a healthy way, that competition is not toxic and it's actually healthy competition because, again, it is pushing us to grow and become better. We must cheer each other on when one dancer accomplishes something, especially if it's something they've been struggling with. We need to teach our students to cheer for them, to congratulate them. Because the best environments are the ones where people are challenged, supported, and celebrated. And when we do all of those things, well, we all grow. Now, perhaps one of the greatest lessons teaching ballet has given me is empathy. Every dancer who walks into my classroom is different. They have different strengths and different weaknesses, different fears, different ways of learning. A correction that helps one dancer won't always help another dancer. And we often have to search for ways to correct that resonate with each individual student. Teaching requires you to see the person before you see the technique. And that's hard. As a teacher, that's hard because oftentimes the first thing you see is the technique and you go, oh, wow, she's got beautiful technique, or, oh, Lord, whoo, she needs some ballet class. But when we look beyond the technique and we see the person there, that's when teaching happens. And this extends far beyond the studio because everyone is learning, everyone is growing, and everyone needs encouragement along the way. That, my friend, that's empathy. Now, often when people talk about ballet, they talk about how graceful the dancers are, how graceful the movement is. That word grace. I think that true grace is not so much about the movement. It's not really about how we move. Grace is how we respond to things that don't go our way. Grace is how we treat people. Grace is being patient with ourselves and with others. I still struggle with that one. I often lose patience sometimes. I'm still working on it, work in progress. Remember, progress, not perfection. But ballet has taught me that perfection is not the goal. Presence is. Kindness is. Growth. And the greatest lesson ballet gave me is that the way we move through life matters just as much as the steps we take. Looking back, I realize ballet was never just teaching me how to dance. It was teaching me how to live. It has taught me resilience when things get hard, discipline when I need consistency, empathy when I need to understand others, and grace when life just doesn't go according to plan. The steps may change, the seasons may change, but those lessons, they stay with us. And for that, I will always be grateful. Thank you for joining me today and allowing me to ramble on a bit. I would like for you to think back to something you did in childhood or maybe in your adolescent years. Maybe you played a sport or an instrument. Maybe you were a member of the band. Maybe you took art lessons. What was something that you did that has taught you more about life than you ever thought was possible? And what was one of the most important lessons about life that it's taught you? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it. I'll see you next time.